Hello and welcome to the BAP. It is the 25th of September 2016. My name is Franco and joining me are my communist comrades Dean and Jason. Welcome.
Comrade Dean.
Shay Murphy.
Shaker Murphy, yeah. I like that.
Now, I'm going to just launch right into something. I know, we try and purport this as a show of jovial entertainment in lieu of any serious debate on politics. But today, I want to be serious on a very important matter that's been brought to my attention through many news sources. I'm glad you're both seated. This may come as a shock to you.
Should I stand up and then sit down to relax?
Possibly. Brangelina, no more.
I saw that.
Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt have
How many kids
separated.
they have? I saw some jokes that they have 85. Is that a serious number?
There were jokes that they could form their own UN committee.
Yep.
I have no idea. I think they have one or two of their own children. They adopted many other children.
Yeah.
Yeah, that must have been a big event because I don't normally hear those pop culture kind of ones that pop up. Like.
So, obviously, I don't really give a shit about Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. What I do care about is why is this splashed across, legitimate newspapers and not confined to the entertainment section?
Because it was a slow news day?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I'd actually...
Also, I imagine Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie sell papers. Like if someone
this is true.
wanted to pick two
the
reasonable
Kardashians
people.
left the entertainment section a long time ago, and they had less reason.
I'm
possibly.
okay with that.
No, but
I have no
they
problem.
left the entertainment section and ended up in the news section.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that I have a problem with.
Yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make. But yeah, if you're worrying about celebrities making unmerited news, that ship kind of sailed a long time ago, I think.
But that doesn't mean there's no reason why I can't whinge about it, and I think it's a worthy thing to whinge
Okay.
of. I mean, I've seen the slide of our own state newspaper, the West Australian.
So why did Angelina and that in particular their breakup make such big news? I guess
I didn't read.
I don't know. I mean, the one reason is that it seemed to be like they were one of the most universally recognised couples. I guess everyone knew. It'd be like if Victoria Beckham and David Beckham broke up. That'd be.
Would that be newsworthy for you?
That would be newsworthy by today's standards.
Wow.
What? No, sorry. They just made Brangelina's news, breakup news, right?
Yep.
So why would it be so surprising that Beckham's breakup?
I find the whole genre of these breakups being newsworthy offensive. So
I thought it was pretty. I caught it on some news thing, and they were saying that Angelina broke it up because Brad had been drinking too much and smoking too much weed. And I figured, got to deal with that bitch's brain crazy. I'd probably be drinking and smoking weed too.
The only regular news item I saw that suggested something to do with one of his, as usual, they sling some shade at the current co-star in whatever movie he was with. Yeah, I don't know how much truth, whether there was any truth to it,
What's his current film?
I can't even remember.
Okay, fair enough. It's good radio.
But yeah. Well, I mean, I haven't been terribly interested in Brad Pitt movies in a while.
No, not for a long time.
Not
So,
since
I mean-
12 Monkeys.
I didn't really want to get into the nitty gritty of why they split it up. I think that's
Seven
a
was
bit of
very
an
good as
oxymoron
well.
about this whole debate. But
I was just trying to find something newsworthy for you, Franco. Desperately trying to find something newsworthy.
But I mean, you suggested that this is a phenomenon that's been going on for quite some time, the ship sail. But I still find it quite disturbing. As I was saying, our newspaper, the West Australian, has been, they've been guilty of, splashing this sort of tripe across their front pages. But I'm seeing a shift towards actually educating their audience to not be interested in any sort of global politics or what's going on in the world. So if you want to try the world section, find the world section of the West
it's on a
Australian
different
newspaper.
page number every issue.
It's right down the bottom of their homepage. Most newspapers at the moment have a sort of standard way of presenting news sections. So you'll find local, national, global.
And normally be in the header where you'll be able to select it too.
Yeah, whereas the West Australian's gone through...
Does anyone really go to the Weddell station for their news these days, though?
I still do.
What's their online presence? Is that Perth Now?
No, that's a separate...
Is it? I thought that was
which
part
has
of it.
just been bought out, I believe, by News Limited.
Oh, so it's going to be...
I'm shocked it wasn't already owned by News Limited.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I was wrong. Sorry, it just got bought out by the West Australian. So Perth Now was part of the Sunday Times, and I don't know who
And
owns
West
Sunday.
Australian, who owns that? Is that...
That's Kerry
Fairfax?
Stokes.
Okay.
7 Media.
Right.
Wow, quality journalism there from Kerry Stokes and Co.
Anyway, I totally blindsided you guys there with that Brangelina news. Do you have douchebag
Well, I was
filter
deeply
which-
gutted by it.
I think I've
obviously.
encouraged douchebags to listen now with my
Brangelina.
talk of Brangelina.
Yeah,
so-
well, maybe we'll have to hashtag it when we publish the stream and see. Maybe we'll see a boost in listenership.
Yeah.
People will tune in to see what the latest news is about Brad Pitt from Western Australia. Get some analysis from some guys. I don't know.
I wasn't really giving analysis to say how similar it is to previous.
You're still banging on about Beckham.
Beckham. Well, he's the only other big star big star couple I could actually think of.
Yeah, I mean, I loathe them as a celebrity couple, but he's done some interesting side projects. He did this tour of South America. I saw the part where he was in Brazil, and it wasn't too bad, all considering.
Did he get a chance to kick the ball around with the locals? Is that how he introduces himself everywhere?
Well, you always
I
got to
imagine
get
it would be.
that, but it was
Yeah.
very Colin McGregor-esque, that sort of rough riding. It wasn't too bad.
So on camera, he was rough riding him.
Right, yeah. I can only speak to what I saw on camera.
Yeah, that's right.
I can't speak to any hookering and boozing and general womanizing. Not that I'm suggesting he
You're
does
missing the
such a
point
thing.
of all this vicarious living through cultural personalities.
Well,
Vicarious living through David Beckham. I feel like that is probably the latest brand of perfume he's bringing out.
Vicarious.
Vicarious by Beckham.
We might be onto something.
It's a good name.
The only sort of douchebag filterage I have is I'm started to watch season 3 of Adventure Time. I quite enjoy that show.
Oh man, I'm like 7 seasons deep in Adventure Time.
Yeah, I haven't gotten very deep into that. Every episode I see it, but I just see random episodes. Usually when
I really like
catch
it. I really like it.
It's good.
There's many levels of stuff. It works really well.
It's not something I watch by myself. I watch it with my partner's daughter, who's 12 and absolutely loves it. So it's something we can join together.
I came to
watch
it through
at
my
different levels.
children as well, so
Yeah.
it seems to be the good
I
avenue,
came
avenue
to
for
it
all good TV these days.
on my own.
You found it by myself.
Not through children. This is awkward. So
Yeah, it's good fun.
yeah, I like Bender, and Jake the dog obviously has the same voice as Bender,
Yes.
and that made me watch it because it was like an extra dose of Futurama, post Futurama for me.
There was another voice that was from another show. Rick and Morty made an appearance as a character. The
Yeah,
character
right.
plays Morty.
Yeah, nice.
When is that coming out next?
The Sir Lemongrad or Lemon.
Fair enough. There are literally hundreds of episodes of that show. I don't know. So Lemongrad. I feel maybe I'm letting the team down. Jason, have you got a?
No, I
Contrast
can't. I
Lemongrad?
can't bring anything to that party either.
Fair enough.
So
Any other douchebag filterage?
I would recommend checking out. There's Eliza's got a comedy special on Netflix, stand-up comedy, really, really good. Check it out. It's just called Eliza. Actually,
okay.
no, it's not. It's called Eliza, and then there's a subtitle. I can't remember what the subtitle is. Fucking hilarious.
Is she American?
Yeah. I think she won the season 6 of Last Comic Standing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but just probably one of the funniest stand-ups I've seen in at least a couple of days. I watch a lot of stand-up on Netflix, and this one tickled my fancy.
Yeah, the stand-up specials on Netflix are pretty good, actually, most of them.
Yeah, like they don't have sports, but they do have a lot of comedy.
Have you seen
Makes up for it, really.
Amy Wong's special, Chinese
No.
Dragon Mum? Very good. Hilarious.
Yeah, right. Check that out too.
Lots of toilet humour in there.
oh well, if you want toilet humour, go no further than Jim Jeffries.
I have already
I saw
listened to
his
that
latest one with the Bill Cosby
Yeah.
section.
Yeah.
We talked about that, I
the
think.
show before.
We talked about it last time. Yeah, I caught the.
You
the
actually
actual
watched
thing.
it, and you're like, whoa.
Well, I don't
Because
know.
it's a funny joke, but he takes it to like,
Yeah, but he
Nth
sort of
degree.
goes a bit meta with it as well, because obviously he got so much flung at him when he did it here in Australia first, and there was all reviews against him and that. So he references that in his act in America when he's doing this special.
yeah, think about your favorite thing.
Yeah.
Now imagine it's rape,
Just went, oh,
because that's Bill Cosby.
But I imagine,
It's a dark joke.
yeah,
A dark joke.
and it just keeps going.
It's not a joke for
It
beginners.
gets darker and darker and
Not
darker.
entry-level humour.
Yeah.
It's,
No, he's Jim Jeffries. I quite like his stuff. I think he represents Australia well with the just the sheer depth he's willing to sink to for that joke.
Yes, he's a one-man douchebag buffer.
Alrighty. On for the newsies.
Superb.
Pauline Hanson, everyone's favourite One Nation leader and Senate.
Senator-elect?
Senator-elect. Went on a radio show for an interview. She happened to...
No.
As she would do.
gay and lesbian radio station, Joy FM in Melbourne, where the discussion was about marriage equality in Australia. So, as you all know, that's not legal in Australia at the moment, and John Howard changed the laws a few years back to insert himself to every wedding that takes place in Australia from 2006 onwards, with a special little preamble that has to be mentioned by the celebrant about...
Man and woman.
Yes. Anyway, so she...
It was Philip Ruddock that did... I mean, he's under Howard, but...
he initiated
it's
the whole
another...
sequence.
Just another gift from Philip Ruddock.
Nice one. Thanks, Phil.
Cunt. By the way, anyone out there listening
she
like Philip
mentioned-
Ruddock, tune out now.
Being the true egalitarian and supporter of democracy, she said she would vote for marriage equality in the Senate if a yes vote was successful in the Australian plebiscite on marriage equality. She also had some other insightful comments.
Was she down with us spending $200 million odd dollars on it, though?
That was not covered.
Wasn't covered.
In this particular piece, but to quote, I agree that everyone has the right to peace and harmony, but gays and lesbians are now wanting to change my way of thinking of who I am. She went on in similar vein, another quote. I come from a time, and this is not a Star Wars quote, when there was no discussion about gay marriage. That's my background. That's what I've grown up with. And finally, you want to take something away from the majority of society that we've grown up with. Why do you want to take the word marriage? Jason, I throw to you. Why do you want to take the word marriage away?
Do I? Why do I?
No, she's sort of mixed metaphors in there. I don't know, metaphor's probably the wrong word, but just mixed concepts in
Well,
there.
no, she's completely misrepresenting. I mean, point out to us what it costs you personally, Franco, to allow gay
that's
marriage.
it.
What does it cost you? What does it
Nothing.
cost you?
Well, maybe $200 million. for
Apparently,
plebiscite.
there's some thought pattern that has to modify in her brain in order for it to
for
be
someone
allowed.
else to have
Well, I
something
mean,
taken
imagine,
away
right?
from them.
Imagine you're
Yeah.
at work and you meet some guy and you go, "Oh, you married?" And he says, "Yes." And then you're like, "Oh, fuck.
I don't know if
I
that's
don't
a
know
man.
if he's gay or straight." Think of that. What does that cost you? 20 seconds, 30 seconds of awkward silence until you ask
Well,
the question.
I don't come across it because one of
Is
the
it
few
to,
things I ever first ask anyone is, "Are you married?"
I don't think I've ever asked anyone that ever.
Were they flying this same sort of argument when they were giving Indigenous people here the right to be citizens in Australia? Were they sort of
Were they?
suggesting you're taking citizenship
It's
away from
it's
me?
a slippery slope, Franco. Next it'll be the kangaroos, apparently.
You saying they can't vote?
Kangaroos.
I mean, Skippy, he's a national icon. You deny him the right
Where
to
will
vote?
it end, Dean? Where will it end?
Yeah.
The wombats?
Probably at
Was
Kenny
that where
Kidner.
it'll end?
I feel like that's probably the end of that slippery slope. Maybe,
I don't
maybe
know.
Captain Possum. I don't know. I don't know the rest of his friends. He had a bunch.
Unfortunately, I didn't get to actually hear the radio interview, which would be interesting to see how they retorted to these comments.
I don't know. Pauline Hanson's voice really doesn't work for me very well. So if I could just read the transcript, that would be better.
It's hard to listen to for a long time, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It's like it's not.
Now, I know, you know,
Not
us,
good. Is she married? Does anyone know if she's married? Maybe she's against
been
gay
married.
marriage because she's herself has had her marriage taken away from her. I don't know. I'm just curious now.
Well, you know, the only legitimate argument against same-sex marriage is an argument against marriage of all kind.
No,
She's like, well, no, maybe marriage is an artificial construct we shouldn't be allowing anyone to have. Take it all away.
Well, I mean, maybe they should get benefits, taxation benefits. I'm willing to have that discussion. Maybe you're right. Maybe marriage should just be a thing that the church does, but that carries no consequence in society. We don't really recognize it. It's an antiquated religious tradition. So
As
maybe,
I said,
maybe it should
that's
be
the
buried.
only valid argument I've ever heard against
Yeah.
it.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
Now, some have accused us of being crazy lefties with the notion of suggesting that perhaps it's not always for the majority to dictate rights of the minority, of a particular minority group. But fear not, Pauline Hanson's turned this on its head
She's okay with that, I bet.
with her comment in terms of if a marriage equality vote got a yes vote. She said, "I would support that because people have had their say. I'd give it my total support because I'm there as the people's representative. I believe we've got to start listening to the majority and not the minority."
Hang on.
Well, clear.
She's also not the people's representative. She's a representative of her electorate. So if they hold a plebiscite, how is she going to know how her electorate voted?
I think this is uncovering the core of what racists have a problem with, and that's why they always fight to maintain kind of
Equal rights is you taking something away from me.
Yeah, well, and
My
also
privilege. I
also
deserve
the
my
fact
privilege.
that also the fact that they see the invasion of other races will water down their majority. In which case, because apparently that's the only basis for their law they have is the majority rules.
Well, for
That's the
people
way
who purport that sort of nonsense, I like to take a comfortable chair, get a nice Long Island iced tea, and then ask them to explain to me. So, tell me about your views about slavery, because that's the sort of you're suggesting that the majority should continually,
Yeah, absolutely.
impose slavery on a minority because they just don't have enough numbers to vote against that.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah,
Just explain to me how that works and how that's right and just.
So are you telling me that the reason women now have the vote is because there's 51% of them?
Probably.
Is that what's happened? There's this one watershed moment where they formed the majority. Boom, got the vote.
Well, the history of getting the vote, I don't know so much in Australia, but worldwide, there was a fair bit of violence in Britain over it, and bombs and all sorts of stuff.
Well, I would suggest that there's another
They're going to
case
be badass when I get the vote over
of
there.
the majority not having their say, because if women couldn't vote, how would they have ever had the numbers to get their thing across the line?
Well, yeah,
It's called a clitoris, Frank.
That's right. I mean, the enfranchised group had to give up some of their majority in order to give women the vote.
There's not many circumstances that we can point out where the enfranchised.
But they didn't
group
do
goes,
it. They didn't do it without being asked, and asked quite forcefully.
Yes, for quite some time.
It's not like there was a female Malcolm X out there, though. You know.
Oh, I think. Well,
There were actually. Yeah.
is that
Well, but were they?
As I said, there was some. There was some
Marjorie X? I think you mean.
Marjorie X.
Britain's, don't worry about it. It's fine.
They I was reading a bit of history around it. They an activist group left a bomb at the Chancellor of the Exchequer's unfinished holiday home or something like that, just to send a message that we know where it is. We're going to leave bombs there.
I mean,
I don't think that's a good way to win an argument.
Well, hey, they
bomb.
got the vote.
it's on a totally side note. It's interesting to see Pauline Hanson taking her thoughts and beliefs to the coalface.
As I said, that speaks to the whole idea that they want to make sure that no more immigration to water down their enfranchisement and what their majority is. So, and that because that is apparently where they get their power to rule is through being the majority. Otherwise, if they weren't the majority, then even by their own logic, they wouldn't have as many. They wouldn't have the right to.
Hang on, but One Nation are a minority party in the Senate, so I guess they should surrender their
You're
vote.
thinking in terms of parties. They're thinking in terms of race.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I don't consider myself the same race as them either. So I consider them a separate. I mean, clearly,
But
she
even
has.
I think the point is, even if you had
red
considered
hair, so
yourself,
she's a freak.
even
so
if you
get
did
rid of her,
consider yourself a separate race,
send her back where she came from,
then
Ipswich.
all things would be equal anyway. So it
Would
wouldn't
they
even
though? They're not equal.
matter.
I feel like their name is misleading. One Nation. It's like one majority will do what we want. Nation. Interesting to see her though go on a gay and lesbian radio station and spout that crap.
That's what I meant.
I wonder how.
What was there any
The hosts were
pushback from
feeling.
the hosts?
The article wasn't framed that way. It's more about Pauline.
Oh, I'm interested to know what questions they actually pose them when they're confronted by such stupidity. What do? Do they just allow that to go through to the keeper?
I'm sure they'll be like, please, Pauline, tell us more.
Yeah,
Do you have interesting thoughts about this, perhaps?
the way the article was framed suggested that either the editor or the journalist themselves was, comfortable with Pauline's point of view.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
In as much of not challenging any of the statements, and the language around the way it was presented was very neutral. In other words,
I think it's good though to know when someone's an idiot, so you just give them enough rope to keep talking. Like,
yeah, but we see
Throw.
that, but your general population read that, and it's confirmation bias for them.
yeah, I guess. I mean, there was that.
She said it, and no one corrected her. We must be right.
It's in the newspaper.
There was that survey done that where apparently 49% of Australians, 41% didn't want any more Muslim immigration. That's a much higher number than I thought it would
Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed by that too.
be. Yeah.
That was. I mean, I knew it was bad. I just didn't quite.
Well, I knew it was
think
bad
that
too. I just didn't think it was like nearly half. That's a lot of
Just
people.
whole Muslim immigration. That's it.
And
That's all it
what?
is.
You're going to like, what's your religion? It's mandatory when you come in to get a visa.
Jedi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, this beard? Nah, it's part of the Jedi.
It's a
stuff.
Jedi.
Yeah, it's a Jedi beard.
These interesting robes I'm wearing.
Yeah.
Jedi.
Yeah. I follow the
That,
Norse gods.
Wookiee.
We like our beards.
And how many poor Sikh people have to be held up at the airport because they don't know that Sikh people aren't Muslims?
People seem to struggle with that. They really do.
Yeah.
They see a beard and a turban, they're like, that's
Go,
Muslims,
look, I
like,
get it, but
more like
even
it's
by
like-
your own rules, I should be allowed through you. Fucking racist moron.
Yeah.
What else we got?
I started to take a bit of a dive into an article that I was reading about some comments that our social services minister made about New Start. And then I started to look into the social services minister, Christian Porter. Had we ever talked about him before?
So
He's
backing
a
up
West
there.
Australian dude, Christian
He's
Porter.
the member for
our AG
Pierce
over here.
since 2013. He was the treasurer here in WA under the Barnett government for a brief period as well.
Sure.
Yeah, so, I mean, apart from his comments about New Start, so...
Which New Start's the federal government program for young people to be able to study. Is that right?
Study and unemployment.
Yeah, it's
in
a form of
general,
unemployment
it's-
benefit for those.
It's a
studying.
part of the welfare system. And people are looking to raise it up because it's quite low.
It's below the poverty line.
It's below the poverty
Just
line.
to,
And, the
stress that
idea...
point.
The idea of our welfare system is to be a bit of a social net for those kinds of things. So welfare groups are looking to raise it by $53 a fortnight.
Well, that's inconceivable. Where are we going to find the money for that when we're paying
Well,
$200 million for a plebiscite?
This would cost
What if we have
$7.7 billion over 4 years.
Mm.
This is unacceptable. So money would have to be borrowed, or
What if we lower it by $53?
or taxes would have to be increased in order to allow for that?
Could we put a tax on stupid?
Yeah. Well, anyway,
Or
the
he's
social
gonna be
services
out of
minister
pocket.
thinks that people expecting to have that kind of money allocated are simply not in tune with the WA taxpayer, or with the Australian taxpayer, and are simply not being imaginative enough with the resources that they have. So living below the poverty line and on which is about $523 a fortnight, and they're not being imaginative enough for the additional money.
Well, just imagine food, and then you won't be hungry anymore.
Anyway, I was trying to figure out where this guy's coming from because obviously he has very little empathy for.
Nah, he's a
for-
twat. You never. Gonna
No,
understand
but
him.
he's a third generation politician.
Yeah, but he was a twat when he was a politician here. He's still a twat federally.
So 3 generations ago, they were twats as
They
well.
were probably still.
Well,
twats.
it's fairly true. He was a member of his grandfather was a member of the Bajelki Peterson ministry.
twat.
So
Probably king of all twats, really.
that qualifies. It qualifies for in that era of his time. He was definitely a major twat.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, he still probably is.
So any minister
I
for
don't know
him
what Sir
likely
Joe's
to
up
be
to,
also.
but yeah,
So then apparently he and his father moved out over west here,
brilliant.
and
Stayed in Queensland with all the crazies.
well, he was a silver medalist in the Melbourne Olympics for high jump. Christian Porter goes onto
Silver really is the whitest medal you can win, isn't it? When you think about it.
it was behind an African American jumper actually, so
Yeah.
that's the way it goes. Maybe they just got something against
Oh.
that. Won the silver medal and then moved out west, and then he was the president of the WA Liberal Party, and then Christian Porter's come through and he worked his way up. I mean, he taught university, taught law at UWA, he worked as a lawyer. And now has entered politics, and he's pretty young. He's only 45,
Mm-hmm.
and
Which is disappointing. You'd hope
he
he'd
was
die
the
soon.
parliamentary secretary for Tony Abbott.
Yep.
And they're talking about him as maybe the face of the Liberal Party in the future.
Oh god.
And you listen. I listened
Well,
to
hang on. Think about the depth they have in their field.
this guy.
There's not many other options.
No, you're right. And I listened to his maiden speech, and I listened to another one. He goes, he loves university deregulation.
Mm-hmm.
That's his other big thing. He just loves the idea of deregulating universities so they can charge whatever they want.
Well, that's how you deny poor people the chance to improve their situation, so you can remove their New Start allowance.
And as
then
Franco,
deregulate
when we were talking about this
universities.
earlier,
Boom,
because
they're trapped.
he came through possibly at the time where tertiary education was still completely free. Because I think he's a year older than me, and Hex was just coming in when I finished high school.
He's 417.
Yeah, around there.
So some kind of Nosferatu.
So he's absolute blue blood, possibly a future prime minister. And I mean, you listen to his maiden speech; he's very well spoken, very slick. I mean, he doesn't.
He's a
Did he,
lot-
did he
he's a
mention
lot.
that he didn't feel he paid enough for his degree by any chance?
No, he didn't mention anything like that.
Would he
at all.
like to contribute $50,000 retrospectively for his degree?
Yeah. I
Well,
don't
you
know.
got to remember, he's donating his time to the public service,
Oh,
Frank.
Of course, time.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, they get paid quite well, but he's in it to service the public.
No, fair call.
So
service
now
them
his latest thing,
well.
and his big through his maiden speech and through just through a later speech that I watched as well. It's very much about the Asian convergence and us towing the line and jumping in. I don't know how this is going to work with TPP and things like that, but he's very much about just trying to hook himself onto the Asian rise, which may be stalling at this period as well. So,
Is the TPP still going ahead?
well.
Congress still has to vote on it.
Still has to vote on it, but
He's-
they've.
I mean,
He's
Obama would love
noticed-
to sign
He's
it.
given him
but-
the 30-day warning, which means it's going to come up. It's going to come in front of them, and they have to yes or no. They have to up or down it. So,
well, the Republicans will probably just down it.
the thing is, everyone, and this is one of the. Let's just move on. Christian Porter, obviously, he's a face to watch
He's a
out
twat.
for.
Let's just, in summary, twat.
Yeah, but when we're talking about the TPP, like I'll listen to certain podcasts and they'll say that it's never going to happen. It's not going to happen anyway. And I'm thinking, because the Republicans will never allow Hillary Care to get through. All I can think of is once the people who are with the money start telling their bought politician which side they need to vote on when it comes to the TPP, they don't care about social issues and stuff. But when it comes to them making money, I think a lot of Republicans would toe the line. Maybe there's a few Tea Partiers left that would still be idealistic about it, but I think most of them, they know where they get their campaign donations from. And it's the people that are going to benefit from the TPP.
I think the Tea Parties would be very much against it. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Tea Party absolutely against it.
The thing is, though, I mean, the Republicans have showed that they're pretty keen on Barack Obama's legacy being as limited as it can be. And I imagine that Hillary would do the same thing. They just oppose it because of who they are.
I get it. And I'm just not as convinced that that'll necessarily be the way. I mean, I think...
And then put up, like, the other thing they put through recently where Americans could sue Saudi Arabia, and then they made Obama veto it. And I think that's brilliant. It's like, also, you're against the victims of 9/11 getting justice. Thanks, Barack Obama. Ladies and gentlemen, our president.
They're the
and
ones
his
that get
legacy.
they're the ones that get through.
There would have been no president that would have vetoed that anyway. I mean,
We would not veto it, no, but just by making him do the veto.
Bernie Sanders would
It's
have let that
brilliant.
one
It's
Yeah.
brilliant.
through. I'm not sure where... sorry, we've
Good
finished the
radio.
Chris Paul.
Good radio. Okay, so did you see that Malcolm Turnbull, obviously he's in New York for the United Nations, and he was pushing for Australia to get a seat on the Human Rights Council, which I thought was pretty nice.
Australia got praised by Barack Obama for its contributions to human rights.
Yeah, I
worldwide.
mean, and Malcolm was over there trying to push for more people to have strong borders like we do. It's saying it's essential for these humanitarian programs to
But then
succeed.
what did he agree to? Taking in a certain amount of Central American...
Yeah, that's his newest attempt at this. We're going to take refugees,
Salvadorians?
guaranteed refugees from South America. But the most important part, obviously, is like I said, Turnbull wants us to be a seat on the council, and he was championing while he was giving his speech in front of the United Nations General Assembly. He highlighted our focus on human rights issues like gender equality and the rights of our Indigenous citizens. Did not bring up Nauru at the time. He did talk about how it's important to have a strong border. Didn't talk about the people we're keeping in internment camps. He just why would you? And all this comes in spite of criticism that we've had from the High Commissioner for Human Rights. He described our
is that
policies
a Saudi
as
High Commissioner?
He's from Jordan. He's from Jordan, so
Oh, wow.
Jordanian, I guess, is maybe it's Sir Michael of Jordan. It's actually no, it's Zaid Raad El Hassan of Jordan. He's described our policies on internment camps as a chain of human rights violations. So it'd be good. I think he's the kind of guy who would want us having a seat at the table. But you twats with those camps, no. And to be, I just feel when
What do you mean? We're keeping good
when a
company.
Jordanian prince is telling you that you aren't really keeping up with human rights, that's not good. It looks bad.
I wonder how the Jordanians treat their own.
I don't know, but I mean,
I haven't heard anything particularly bad about them, but I mean, Saudi Arabia has been terrible. But
so you think all these brown people that live in the Middle East?
well,
are the same?
Jordan, I haven't
So-
actually. Jordan is
Okay,
oddly
that's
enough.
that's what you're saying. Yeah, I've heard nothing about them, but I assume they're just as bad as the Saudis. That's what I'm getting from this conversation, which I'm a little bit shocked about. But look, fair enough.
But you go along with it, yeah.
Did you see the other thing that Turnbull's in the news for this week? He was talking about, how the West Australian Liberals were talking about the need to rebalance the GST mix so that Western Australia got more. They want like a floor in place. So obviously Tasmania and a bunch of the other states have been against it. So Turnbull made the news this week by saying that any changes to the redistribution of the GST was some years away,
Nah.
which I think is awesome for the looming federal election that young Colin is likely to be leading the party to.
State election, yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was not really much of a backbench revolt against him. Dean Naldo, as we mentioned last week, tried to galvanise the party and convince them that he was the man for the job. A spill motion was held. I think it was 31-15.
Yes.
Colin's boys basically went all in behind him. And Naldo didn't even get a chance to put his name forward.
No, I think we had a discussion about this during the week, and it's quite evident that probably Naldo was the straw man of some disgruntled senior members of Colin's government.
I mean, he's not. He doesn't strike me as a competent leader either, Naldo. Like, it's not like you'd be like...
Not something that you...
I mean, Colin has his issues, but he certainly presents himself as a competent politician.
He's certainly punctual.
He doesn't like sharks.
At the very least, he's punctual, right?
So, what is he though? Is he punctual on paying back the deficit? I mean, he once described himself as... Someone asked him what kind of premier he would be, and he goes, "I'll tell you one thing, I'm certainly not the kind of premier who would preside over a deficit." Wah, wah. That quote's going to come back and bite him in the ass. Mr. Deficit, I think he is these days.
How long has he been in power now?
This is his 8th year. Yeah.
So it's not for lack of time to get...
And this is a prime opportunity for Labor to get take government. But who's the leader of the Labor Party?
Mark McGowan. They actually were in the news when this spill motion came forward. The Labor Party came out and said that Colin Barnett is the architect of his own situation, and the only way to be free of this poison is to chuck the bastards out. I thought it was a bit weak, to be honest.
Chuck the bastards out. It's getting almost
I
populist.
don't like when politicians are like, well, you can't trust them, you have to throw them out. We win by default. Like, we're not a credible opposition. Just, these guys are clowns. What are you going to do? It's the same kind of bullshit Tony Abbott got in on.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
Works, obviously, to some extent.
Yeah, I know. Clearly it does. But I've long had this thing that, opposition parties don't win elections, incumbent governments lose them.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's only true because opposition seem to not really try.
I don't think Barnett's done anything overtly enough to get rolled out just by having a silent opposition party.
No.
I think that the opposition party need to take the ball and run with this one. He's done enough to stir dissent. I know a lot of the more conservative and aged population of WA are very unhappy with the
So
notion.
is that Asian?
Yes. They're very unhappy with the notion of selling off state assets.
Well, isn't everyone? I don't like the idea of them selling off state assets. That's not cool. You don't pay back your debts by robbing us of future income. That's fucking retarded.
But aside from football stadiums, you usually don't vote for the
Ouch.
Colin Barnett types.
That's
So,
right. Unless there's a football stadium going in near his suburb,
So
then
whilst
definitely not vote for a Liberal Party.
so whilst the majority of conservatives and aged population of WA are annoyed by that, I don't think they're ready to run into the hands of Mark McGowan without some sort of vision.
No, and the Labor Party haven't to date provided any kind of clarity over how they would fix the state's finances anyway.
So they've been following the national lead from Shorten and they haven't realised that he's changed the playbook recently.
Well, the speaking of the national leadership of this issue, the only people who have an interesting and different economic plan, at least state level, is the National Party, talking about the mining tax, which I think will see them decimated at the next election when the mining companies start running campaigns against them. But at least they're proposing...
Well, maybe they won't. I don't think
least
the
they're
mining
proposing an
companies
option.
have the money to throw around anymore. They seem
For this issue, they do.
Yeah.
Forget what it was.
BHP were in the paper this week talking about how that they might have to start questioning certain investments into West Australian mines because they can't guarantee that Brendan Grizzle's ideas won't take traction. So they're going to have to rethink things. They're already, and that was an email he sent to the staff at BHP. The CEO sent to the staff.
That'll be interesting considering they've already contracted their operations here to such a huge extent that maybe those threats might ring a little bit hollow because that ship's already sailed as well.
It's an idle threat. And when you're thinking about mining tax, you've got to think of it from a global perspective. It's never a state or country issue. Basically, the way the mining companies work is they don't want to set precedents in any country. The moment it gets set in one, it gives more momentum for another country to implement those taxes. That's why, for instance, when Kevin Rudd tried to implement the mining super taxes, that came down so hard on him because other countries were considering and were watching what happened in Australia regarding, because this wasn't Kevin Rudd's idea. This came from some economic.
And
body
they also knew they were going to pay that
Yeah.
tax because they wouldn't have folded up
No.
things. It wouldn't fold up everything over here because it was a super tax.
And, you
It
know,
was only on profits, which meant they had to be making those profits in order to get the.
And
the
people
tax
ramble
benefit.
on about Australia being expensive for mining, but they never considered the risk mix that global mining companies take into fact.
Yeah.
So when it's cheaper to mine in Africa, but there's a huge risk profile on mining in Africa, so they balance it out with a more expensive country like
That's
Australia.
right. If you get a 20-year mine and you've got a country which swaps governments regimes
every
Hang
6
on.
months on the gun.
Or like Australia, where we swap prime ministers every sort of year and a
Yeah,
half.
but they all know that the underlying business process is not going to be damaged by either party. They know that.
There's not going
Are
to be
you
any
saying that Malcolm Turnbull is just the same as Wingnut Abbott?
When it comes to businesses, for the most part, yeah.
I am shocked.
I've not seen any prime ministers in the last 100 years nationalise a mine
Yeah,
yet. So
and that's right, Dean. I'd extend that and say Bill Shorten's not terribly different to Tony Abbott in that respect, in that business will go on as usual for
I've never
most
seen
of the
Bill
most part.
Shorten eat an onion.
And how does the onion affect ongoing trade negotiations?
It would affect my... Look, if you were sitting in a room
If you had to
negotiating
sit
with someone
across from Tony
who
Abbott
sat
after
there
he'd eaten the
eating
onion,
an onion while he's talking to you, I wouldn't be so confident that the papers he's signing are worth the paper they're written on. I'd be like, Jesus, they've sent the fucking fool. We'll give him some
Well,
little jingle
and they
bells on his hat, maybe.
Well, I'd imagine that in those situations, Abbott was in the waiting room eating an onion, and Peter Davis, no,
Peter Credlin.
Peter Credlin was in there signing the papers. I thought that's how the power
Mm.
thing worked.
Yeah, maybe.
onions
are pretty cheap
calling
as well.
Tony Abbott a cuck. Is that what you're saying?
What else happened?
Did you see the George Brandis thing we were talking about earlier in the week?
Oh, that made my day.
Where George Brandis has been accused of lying to or misleading Parliament. He, right before the last election, a couple of days before, he put through some changes to the way that fellow ministers would access the Solicitor General. The changes he put through, which he said were at the request of the Solicitor General, is that all requests to access the Solicitor General have to be approved by George Brandis. Now, it's since come out...
Including the Prime Minister.
Yeah, it's since come out under a bunch of freedom of information requests that the Solicitor General is not actually happy with that at all, nor did he request it. It is just George. And he told the Parliament that, no, this is pretty standard stuff. It's what the Solicitor General wanted. Nope, it's just George, the power-mad bastard, trying to stay power-mad. Keep in the loop, keep relevant. Stay hip and happening. He hasn't heard of the internet yet.
It was funny. I love the way, in much the same way as Victorian English, where, the way you veil your insults. The way he responded to Michael Gleeson was, these changes were inspired by your comments from our meeting in November 2015.
Yeah.
Inspired.
He's
That's
a
pretty much
sarcastic
saying,
dick. He's a sarcastic dick.
Yeah.
You got to think, in the legal fraternity, people must think Brandon is an absolute cock.
He's probably not well regarded.
Yeah.
Isn't
And
he?
the other comment was, apparently the legal firm he used to work for strongly supported his initiative to go into politics.
Yeah. Strongly supported. So I figured they just wanted him out.
Yeah.
Geez, George, that sounds like a fucking awesome idea. You should resign.
Immediately.
It's a
with
shame.
pay.
We're not going to cope without you as well as we did with. But look, we'll find a way. We'll get the cleaner in on the weekend.
How does a high-priced lawyer piss off other high-priced lawyers?
Well, using language like inspired.
Yeah.
I wonder if any George Brandis case law ever gets cited in court.
Yeah, I don't know.
No.
You'd have to hope not.
In the case of Michaels versus ice cream licking, I don't know. Trump news. In an interesting Twitter exchange, apparently he has a bit of a beef, or there's a beef between Mark Cuban.
Mark Cuban, yep.
Yeah, what? He's a billionaire, but
Yep.
what?
He
how
hosts
did
Shark Tank as well in America.
Oh, okay.
He's another reality TV show / billionaire /
He's the
hotel-based
closest
entrepreneur.
analog to a left-wing Donald Trump.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
How did he make his money?
In that,
Cuban sandwiches, largely.
I think from entertainment or something, didn't
Yeah,
he?
no,
Was
yeah,
was he
he's-
rich before that? I could.
Anyway,
I mean,
Pass.
he's got an
I'm going to
award-winning
go with
show,
Cuban
so-
sandwiches.
yeah.
Yep, he invented them. The Mark Cuban sandwich.
he put a tweet out on Twitter.
He offered Donald Trump $10 million to interview him. For a 4-hour period, just one-on-one.
He offered.
Offered, 10 million. Price Trump's time at a reasonable
Think he knows
amount.
how Trump ticks.
And Donald has yet to accept, which is weird.
Just needs to up that price just a bit, I think. Show he's willing to negotiate. Trump will be on board.
So Mark did a tweet saying, just got a front row seat to watch at Hillary Clinton overwhelm at real Donald Trump at the humbling at Hofstra on Monday. It's on. So Donald Trump, he cannot ignore any bait.
I think there was talk about Mark Cuban for VP.
Was he?
Yeah.
No, I think Kanye West would be a better choice.
So
Well, I honestly think there was some talk about it.
I don't think Mark Cuban's interested in it. I saw an interview with him on Chelsea where he was basically... when Donald Trump said he was going to run, they started having some conversations about stuff, and he quickly realised that Donald Trump was an idiot who didn't read. Mark Cuban sent him a bunch of books. He was like, if you get involved in politics, you should check these out. These are good reads. It's going to give you a good sort of a primer. And Trump was like, why would I read those?
I have people that read those.
Yeah.
So the Don
And then I watch them on TV.
to that tweet with, if dopey Mark Cuban of failed benefactor fame wants to sit in the front row, perhaps I will get Jennifer Flowers right alongside him. So you may be wondering, who is Jennifer Flowers? Well, she's a woman who claimed during the 1992 Clinton campaign that she had an affair with Bill, which he continually denied until 1998, where under oath he admitted that he indeed did have the fling. And
How is that reflecting on Hillary, though?
well, it doesn't, but it's just the way Trump's just a nasty.
It's just Trump
piece of
being a
work.
dick.
And apparently, Flowers herself approved of or accepted the invitation with her tweet of saying, "Hi Donald, you know I'm in your corner and will definitely be at your debate." At the debate. Oh, I mean,
I think, though, you'd imagine if you had an affair with Bill Clinton who denied it and tried to discredit you, you would probably be a bit
Because
vindictive.
they got nasty on
The Clintons were nasty about it. I'd be like, you know what? Fuck it. Yeah, I'm there. I'll come along.
Yeah.
How you doing, Hillary? Great to see you.
You're right. I'd be inclined to think anyone who's looking to insert themselves and get involved in it would be a pain in the ass as well. But
she's up until this
but
point.
the Clintons really went to fucking town on
Yeah, but Jennifer
those
Flowers up until this point has said she didn't want to be involved in this process and wanted to stay aside from it. It's only at this
I
point.
wonder what made her change her mind. Yeah,
Don't
fair
know.
enough.
But
$10 million?
it's interesting. It's interesting how Donald Trump insults Mark Cuban insults Donald Trump.
Maybe she
But
likes Mark
Donald
Cuban.
Trump decides, I'll get back at you by attacking Hillary. That's incongruous.
Well, it's interesting, though, because Donald is actually in contest with Hillary. He's not in contest with Mark Cuban, so he's keeping his eye on the ball in this instance.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Donald's been getting some interesting advice lately. His appearance on Jimmy Fallon, I thought, was fantastic.
You know who's been getting his advice from?
Donald Trump.
Roger Ailes.
Really?
He hired him on as a media consultant after.
Oh, that's right.
I don't think his seat was even cold at Fox News before he was working for Donald Trump.
See, his conservative base loves the
He
institute of...
that's the guy that looks like Jabba the Hutt, right?
Jabba the Hutt, the guy that also turned Fox News into a massive media powerhouse. He got ejected from Fox because it turned out he was sexually harassing nearly every woman that came through his office, and so much so the Murdoch children could not stand it anymore and told him he had to go.
Yeah.
And now he's working for where else? Who else would he go to but Donald Trump? How is that not a perfect fit?
That's interesting, though.
A
I was
campaign-
wondering who was giving me advice because his strategy's gotten better.
Roger Ailes, you may call him many things, and there are certainly many things to call him, but he's not stupid, and he knows media. He knows how to make
He can multitask. He can be a predator and a media genius.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, that's an interesting turnabout. If he starts actually legitimately taking Roger Ailes' advice, who knows what might happen?
It's
I mean-
interesting.
We were talking
it's
about
very
polls. The polls have leveled out. In some states, Trump's ahead within margin of error on many.
The Jimmy thing I post where Trump actually takes the piss out of himself, is willing to be the butt of his jokes, makes him look human in a way that Hillary will not ever
The
do.
Jimmy Fallon thing, I haven't seen that yet.
It's
I
really
need
good.
to.
It's
Well,
funny.
Yeah, but do you need to humanise a dick like that? Do you really need
I
to?
think he does need... No, I don't think it's about Donald Trump humanising himself. I think it's about making Hillary look more like a robot that doesn't engage with the media, can't laugh at herself, is a very secretive person. Like, I very much think Trump's strategy is, in this instance, is to make himself look like an ordinary guy and a Washington outsider, you know? He's reinforcing that image. And
Jimmy Fallon got a lot of flack for that.
He did.
Got a lot of flack for it. And
As a comedian, his job is to be objective.
Seth Meyers seemed to take a different tack and just continues to dump on Donald Trump.
Seth is not Donald. I love Seth Meyers, but I think it's good. I think the media should give these people the opportunity to be involved, and they should be objective in a way that Fox News isn't.
Well, there's some question. I mean, it's their platform and they can use their platform how they like, but don't expect not to get criticised if you get Donald Trump on and don't take him to fucking task for the monster that he is. I mean, if you choose not to do that, then you're going to have to cop.
Speaking as a man who's never watched the bit, how do you know he didn't take him to task?
No, I heard a lot of commentary around this as well.
Because he actually says to him, he's Donald Trump interviewing Donald Trump.
Can I touch your hair?
He does touch his hair, but
Yeah.
the bit where he's interviewing Trump in the
saw
mirror,
that bit.
he asks him all these questions about his plans for the wall, his plans this and that, and he does mock him. Trump allows himself to be mocked. It's very interesting.
Well, I'll have to have a Bo Peep.
Yeah, it's funny as well, which is just hideously unfortunate. And like I said, someone's giving him really good advice. Did you see the internet news that Paul Combetta, Hillary's IT specialist,
Yes.
has been
got help from
sprung by Reddit. Previously, they've worked out the account is his, asking for advice on how to delete emails and edit them on a server. That's awkward.
Or change who they were from.
How to change the header so that you couldn't see who the VIP is.
It's just very awkward, isn't it? I mean, people don't seem to talk about the fact that Hillary, she would always do things by hard copy. Whenever she's looking at confidential or classified documents, it was hard copies only. It didn't go through that email server.
Well,
but they keep bringing it back to like the dodgy behaviour of Hillary and her staff around that server.
Reflexively dodgy behaviour that they seem to have. If ever a situation catches them by surprise, they reflexively take the dodgy way of doing things.
It's really badly timed.
So you know that when they're in office, something comes up, they're reflexively going, well, we need to cover that up. It's going to be just quite simply what they do.
It's hideous to watch over. It repeats the same bloody pattern. And I can definitely see this playing to Trump's advantage again. She just looks shady. Because reflexively she hides from the media.
There's still a long way to go, and Donald's got to seriously make up a fair bit of ground in a lot of places, but it is worrying that it's even this close.
Why is the narrative that they've both got a whole closet full of skeletons as in regards to dodgy stuff, but it's crooked Hillary and clumsy Trump. No one
loser Trump. I think
they never really harp on as much about how crooked Donald is with his the tenements he built where he banned black
Trump
people
University.
from buying them. Trump University.
Trump University is getting a lot of play these days, but
but not to the gravity that crooked Hillary's crimes have been given.
Maybe that's the.
I think though, because Donald Trump's were when he was a private citizen in business, Hillary's behaviour was when she was a public official working for the government, and you hold them to slightly higher standards. Maybe I don't know. And when Donald Trump has had a public checkup from Dr. Oz, so when's Hillary going to do that? What's going on there? When are we going to see the details, the truth about her health issues? Let me
give you an example of balance. The town hall meeting they had where what's his face, Mike Lowry, went on for
Matt Lauder.
I'm obsessed with Bad Boys. Banged on for 10 minutes with Hillary's emails. Why didn't he bang on for 10 minutes about Trump University?
No, exactly. Yeah, he spent a stupid amount of time on her emails and almost no pushback on Trump about it.
If you want to focus on their past crimes,
I think the bigger thing for me that they should be harping on Trump more about is his recent claims that Hillary started the birther controversy. that he's, Obama's a citizen, Trump's never said he wasn't, and that clearly Hillary's the one that started this.
During the 2008 campaign, Hillary definitely was throwing a lot of that.
There was an element of truth to that accusation,
unfortunately.
But I mean, lately Trump's...
So you can't just dismiss that.
And Chris Christie's up Trump's ass saying, Donald's long said that this isn't an issue. But, and that Hillary's the one that started it. It's hideous to watch. Again,
it's skillful.
Because as per usual, everything Trump says is... just has enough nuance to it, so you can't immediately dismiss it with a flick and say no, that's absolutely untrue, because it's not absolutely untrue. She did do some of that shit.
It's mostly a lie.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But that extra few minutes you've got to take to soundbite out to the broader audience so they understand it is you don't normally get that time.
So the Trump's mostly a lie
gets
the
through.
airwaves.
Yeah.
I was astounded that got through.
Remember, Hitler always said, "Tell the big lie. Make sure you go for the big lie."
Yeah.
And Trump Trump's clearly an avid student.
Going for the big lie. It's painful to watch.
Anyone else got stuff?
I think that's might be where we're at.
I'm all done.
That sounds like a
We're
wrap.
ending on Trump.
Thanks for listening. I've been Franco.
I've been Jason.
I've been the Donald.
So we're going back to your place.
We're still broadcasting.